So within the next day or so, it's probably going to be out tomorrow morning. If you are a member of the Red Menace Collective, what that means is if you are a paying supporter, one of the people that has funded the work I'm doing to write these books, which is over at redmenacecollective.substack.com. You can also just go to redmenacecollective.com and you'll find links over here and you'll find other resources and stuff like that. But basically, the people who are the paying supporters on this Substack, you guys are the ones that fund my ability to spend time writing these books. This is a standalone Substack. It is not to be confused with karlyn.substack.com. It's a completely different thing. You have to be a member on this. And tomorrow, or possibly later tonight, but definitely by tomorrow, you will be receiving a copy of the entire PDF of the book. And if you've been keeping up with the draft chapters I've been writing, the final version of the book does look a little bit different because I went back through, I rewrote a bunch of things, I made it a little bit more narrative, I made it into a story. So you have been getting previews of the content, but now we have the full edited version, so it will be slightly different. In some cases, significantly different. In some cases, slightly different than the version that you've already read on there. The cool thing about the Red Menace Collective is you get access to my draft chapters as I'm writing them. So you really kind of get to see the whole thing come together. And then when you get to see the final version, you really get to see how all this stuff comes together. It's been a really cool process to work through. And I really do appreciate everyone who supports my work on the Red Menace Collective to be able to do this sort of thing. So I thought we could do two things before we get into our video. I thought I could read you the introduction to A Brief History of Racism, and then I thought I could read you the epilogue that I literally just wrote last night. And that's the cool thing again about self-publishing, because I get to make changes up until the very end before I decide to go and live with it. So, do you guys want to hear the introduction and the epilogue? It will be available on Amazon very, very soon for pre-order. It will be coming out officially next week. It'll be available on Amazon in the next couple days. But if you want it right now, you can just go over to Red Menace Collective, redmenacecollective.substack.com, sign up as a supporter over there, and you'll be getting a PDF of it within the next 12 hours, probably 24 hours max. So that would probably be a better option if you want that. Anyway, let's do the introduction. Let's do it. And this is the first, you guys have got to be gentle with me. This is the first time I've ever actually read it out loud. So I hope you like it. Here we go. Let me make this a little bit bigger so people can actually see it. Introduction. The Revolutionary History of Racism. In the war of ideas, definitions are the most powerful weapon. He who controls the definition controls the culture. No word in modern discourse exemplifies this more than racism. This book traces the revolutionary history of the term from its inception to its current role as a cornerstone of left-wing ideology. What you're about to read isn't just a history. It's an expose of how communist intellectuals deliberately crafted and wielded this term as a tool for social transformation. This isn't just about tracking linguistic changes. It's about understanding how definitions shape reality. By controlling the definition of racism, leftist intellectuals have fundamentally altered how racial issues are discussed and addressed in Western society. The term racism has never simply meant individual prejudice. For almost its entire existence, it has referenced an oppressive system, not just the personal biases of those who view others as inferior based on skin color. More importantly, it has been weaponized, used to gaslight, silence, and destroy those deemed inconvenient to a far-left agenda. This book names the race of every individual who influenced the definition of racism. Why? Two reasons. First, because it's a fact. I'm tired of being told I can't state objective reality to coddle the fragile sensibilities of those who find facts offensive. If race is real and not just a social construct created by capitalism as the left insists, then stating a person's race shouldn't be controversial. It's time to force society to hinge back into reality, and that starts with acknowledging that facts and fantasies are not the same thing. Second, because it forces a question. Does race matter? If it does, then we should be able to state it openly. If it doesn't, then acknowledging it shouldn't be an issue. I'm not telling you the answer, I'm just raising the question. After all, the left has spent the last century insisting that racism, by their definition, is the greatest evil imaginable, that those who engage in it must be censored and banned. Yet they also claim to be the true anti-racists. So which is it? Does race matter or doesn't it? I leave that to you. Some readers may find the history in this book uncomfortable, as if history exists to cater to our comfort. Maybe you should demand the past file an environmental impact statement or insist that time itself provide trigger warnings. Better yet, perhaps you should force historical facts to undergo sensitivity training before they're allowed to disturb your curated worldviews. Reality doesn't care about your feelings. What matters is not how history makes us feel, but what it reveals about the present, and few revelations are more urgent than understanding how a single word reshaped Western civilization. In the pages ahead, you'll find out how one word became a revolutionary tool, how its definition was expanded and manipulated to serve ideological ends, and how it continues to shape society today. This is the story of how the left weaponized a word, and how that word changed the world. So that's the introduction to the book, guys. What did you think? Give me some feedback. I would love to hear it. The book is a relatively short book. It is about 20,000 words. So it did come out to about 169 pages, but you can see I've got like the font is like really nicely spaced and stuff like that, because I want people to be able to write notes and margins and things like that. So that is the introduction of the book. And now let's scroll down to the epilogue, and you don't get any of the good stuff. You got to buy the book for that. But I decided to add this at the very end, and people in my community know, I like after Sunday and after Kanye West's stunt in the Super Bowl on Sunday, I was hemming and hawing about this because Kanye West's stunt in the Super Bowl does feel like a cultural moment to me. And so, but I wanted to make sure it tied back into the book. I didn't just want to insert something on the end saying, hey, this crazy thing happened. But I do think that what Kanye West in the Super Bowl, what he did with that was he was making a larger cultural commentary about what was going on. And so I think I found a balance to be able to add the epilogue in. And so I literally wrote this last night. And so this is the first time I'm sharing this with anyone. I'm a little nervous, but you guys we'll see. Okay, so here's the epilogue for the book. Epilogue. The Super Bowl swastika shirt. In an era where outrage fuels profits, where the currency of cultural warfare is controversy, and where the very definition of racism has been weaponized, it was only a matter of time before someone took the entire game and flipped it on its head. Enter Ye, the artist formerly known as Kanye West, the undisputed master of media manipulation, who executed what may go down as the most audacious troll in history, hijacking the Super Bowl in 2025 by selling a swastika t-shirt. For decades, the far left has redefined and expanded the boundaries of racism to include systemic power, implicit bias, and even silence as complicity. The entire framework of modern racial discourse, as outlined in this book, has been carefully crafted to control language, dictate public morality, and punish ideological dissent. Ye understood this better than anyone. And so, he did what only he can do. He exposed the absurdity of it all by forcing the conversation to its logical breaking point. Ye purchased a 30-second Super Bowl ad, reportedly spending $7 million, and filmed it in the most unpolished way possible, on his iPhone while sitting in a dentist chair. In the ad, he simply told viewers to visit Yeezy.com. Upon arrival, visitors found all the merchandise had been removed from the site, except for a single item: a plain white t-shirt with a giant black swastika. The marketing stunt, devoid of flashy production or grand messaging, relied purely on the shock factor and cultural discourse to drive engagement, ensuring that his actions dominated social media conversations during one of the most watched events of the year. The reactions were predictable. Media outlets declared the move a new low. Activist group called for boycotts. Social media melted down. Shopify even canceled his store, removing it entirely from the internet. And yet, through the hysteria, one undeniable truth emerged. Ye had seized the most watched event in America and forced the world to reckon with its own manufactured contradictions. The irony, of course, was that those who spent decades arguing about racism was just about systems, power, and oppression, not just symbols or individual acts, suddenly reverted to their most simplistic emotional definitions when confronted with the ultimate cultural provocation. The very people who defended hammer and sickle paraphernalia as historical and nuanced were now faced with an inversion of their own logic, one they were ill-equipped to handle. Even more telling was the outrage from the conservative Zionist right, a faction that had long decried cancel culture, now actively engaging in it. The same voices that once championed free expression as the antidote to the chaos caused by the left in the preceding years were suddenly leading the charge for deplatforming, proving that the only principle most people truly uphold is self-preservation from cancellation. This wasn't just about Ye. It was about the landscape he operated in, a landscape meticulously shaped by the less ideological architects, from Trotsky's original linguistic weaponization of racism to the modern anti-racism industry that profits from perpetual outrage. In the end, Ye's Super Bowl stunt was a reflection of everything this book has dissected: the monetization of identity politics, the selective application of outrage, and the sheer performative nature of what passes for activism today. The ultimate question remains: did Ye do this as a critique, or simply because he could? Either way, the response was the real revolution. The empire of race-based morality trembled, if only for a moment, revealing its own fragility. And in that moment, one truth became clear: nothing is sacred when everything is for sale. Racism has evolved over time, a tool, a weapon, and ultimately a product. But its trajectory remains subject to the forces that shape the broader cultural landscape. And if Ye proved anything, it's that in the end, the only thing that truly matters is who controls the narrative. So that's the epilogue. What do you guys think? So I hope people enjoy this book. I really did have a good time writing it. I really learned a lot in writing it. And I really think that some people are going to be very, very surprised at I was surprised at some of the information I uncovered. And so the book is going to be available to Red Menace Collective members by tomorrow. You'll receive an email with a PDF, that the very PDF that I was just reading from. And then starting next week, fingers crossed on Tuesday, it's scheduled for Tuesday, the book will be available on Amazon as a paperback. It will also be available as a digital copy. You're going to be able to get your pre-orders in the next couple days. I didn't want to do a long pre-order period just because I just want the book out there. I want it done. And so that is going to be coming too. But if you want the book ASAP, well, it will get published because I'm publishing it. So it will indeed get published. So if you want the book ASAP, head over to redmenacecollective.substack.com, sign up as a member. This is $10 a month, $100 a year, and you guys are funding the books that I'm working on. We're going to go back to the re-education book next, which I should have been working on, but I took a little detour to do this, and I'm glad that I did. Honestly, it's all part of the creative process. And so if you want the PDF of the book coming out soon, head over there, sign up, and then everyone else can pre-order on Amazon, and that's going to be the way it goes. But I hope you guys enjoyed it.